And we're good to go. So yes, Kendo UI for Angular. We can see your slide. Perfect. Thanks, Josh. So, as I said before, my name is Alyssa Nicoll, at Alyssa Nicoll on Twitter. My DM is always open. You don't even have to follow me. Just ping me with questions. We also have Carl. Carl is my cohort and crime. And hello, welcome, Luca. And he knows literally anything there is to know about Kendo UI. I'm pretty comfortable in saying that. So Kendo UI, for those of you who don't know, is a component library, but it's not only an Angular. Of course, you're probably here for the Angulars. I'm here for the Angulars. But it's also React, Vue, and jQuery. Haters don't hate. And so Carl knows literally everything there is to know about all those things. So don't feel like you have to hold your questions at any point. If you're like, what about this feature? What about this component? How does that work? Just plop them in the chat as you see fit, and Carl will get to them. Or if you think of something afterwards, which often happens to me at a conference or at a session, ping either of us on the Twitters. You can go ahead and DM us your questions and we'll be there for you. And Kendo UI, of course, is the official Kendo UI for Angular account that you can follow for things like updates and webinars and things like that. Check it out. I would be remiss if I did not mention Code It Live. As I mentioned during setup, I do stream quite often on Code It Live, as well as my other fellow advocates. And it's twitch.tv/Code It Live. We do things literally from like Xamarin and Maui and .NET side of life, all the way to the Angular, React, JavaScript side of life. And it's a ton of fun. So definitely check it out. Follow us on there. Every Wednesday, I do UI Wednesdays, where I talk about UI and UX issues and tackle any CSS challenges. So definitely check out Code It Live. It's a good time. And I am on 2 different podcasts. It used to be 3, and I was like, this is crazy. But yes, every week I am on Angular Air and Adventures in Angular. So check those out. They have RSS feeds. One of them, Angular Air, is actually video, which is really cool because panelists can share their code that they're coming on to talk about. And the other one is a normal audio only podcast. So check those out if you're into the podcasts. Recently, October 19th through the 23rd, we had DevReach, which is a conference that Progress holds. And usually it's live in Bulgaria. This year actually was obviously not live, but it was really, really unique. And I invited, if you're into the Angular community, you might know some of these names. I invited quite a few of my friends from the Angular influencer space to come on and do an Angular relay. And so that you can actually find on our Kendo UI YouTube channel, or you can find it on our Twitch recordings, just at Code It Live. But it was a really, really cool relay. It was super fast paced. I was like, all right, I want all of you to come on. And in, I think it was like 25 minutes each, I want you all to do a personal interview. So I asked some questions, kind of got to know, because a lot of these people like John Papa or Stephen Fluent or Deborah Carrata, we might know them from the community, but we might not know a lot about them personally. So the first half of the videos are all going to be like personal interviews. And the second half is them just adding whatever they wanted to the Tour of Heroes application that I'd modified, which luckily for all of you, we are actually going to be working on today. And if you don't like pink or My Little Ponies, I'm just going to apologize right now. That's just like my warning. So check out the recordings from DevReach. They were really cool. And if you didn't know, tell me in the chat, how many of you were at the Angular update party? So I was actually talking to the Angular team. I am a GDE, which means Google Developer Expert. And what that means is I'm an advocate for Angular, but I'm not paid. And so it's a really cool list of people they have on the GDE's list, but it kind of, along with like doing things for the community, we get kind of feedback directly from the team on what's going down. And so I'm really curious, were anybody like shout out in the chat if you're actually at the update party, because that's something the DevRel team over at Angular is they're working on right now. They want to really create more, even though, pandemic and we can't be together with conferences, they want to create more of a connection and a stronger tie to the community right now. And so one of their ways was with the recently V11 update to have an update party. And so we did they had a keynote on their channel with a Q&A. So check out those links to the right or left. I can't really spatially, they're on the side. And then on the bottom is our Kendo UI TV channel. That's the YouTube channel I was referring to. That was where I kind of invited some Angular team members and community members to hop on and chat a little bit about V11. So you can check out those recordings. But yeah, I'm really curious if anybody, doesn't seem like anybody's shout out that they were at the update party. Maybe it wasn't very well advertised, but I think it was popular enough that it'll be around for V12. So keep an eye out for that. Definitely. Yes. And today we will be working in the VS codes. At least I will be. I would love to hear, does anybody who's with us today not use VS Code? I have a friend who, what was it? Was it Firestorm or something like that? That he swears by, but everyone else who I've met who develops in Angular loves VS Code. So if you want to try out Kendo UI, I would suggest this Kendo VS Code extension that you can find. And I think we're ready to talk about the library itself. So, but feel free to chat, ask your questions. Don't be shy. Don't be shy, attendees. The first thing I want to talk about, native UI components built for Angular. So as I said, if you were there for the webinar, you can pretty much tune out for this portion. I want to give just a generic, very high-level overview of Kendo UI before we jump into some code examples and just using it, what it's like, talking about it. So 70 plus UI components. Yeah. And built from the ground up for Angular. As I said, we have many flavors of Kendo UI, but the Angular flavor is built up from the ground up for Angular, a comprehensive set of UI scenarios. And this includes things like data grids, which our grid is like the most popular component, scheduler, form elements, which we'll get into, drop downs, things like that, and an intuitive API, which I will walk us through some of our docs in a minute, but it really is very intuitive, and I've enjoyed using it over the last few years. And we do have tree shaking and AOT support. So that's very neat. Design language integration. So we have support for 3 themes: material design, Bootstrap, and of course our own Kendo UI design language. And I actually, as one of our, I call them challenges. I don't know what other workshop people, this is, welcome to my first workshop. This is my first official workshop. I've done talks around the world, like I think over 40 talks internationally to different countries, but I've never done a workshop. So this is my first. Welcome to this journey. But we are actually going to be doing a challenge and later on around theming. So that should be, I'm so excited about that. And if ever at any point you're like, Alyssa, this challenge is too hard, like just tell me that. Like seriously, let's easily customize with online theme builder, which we will be showing off very soon. If you haven't used our theme builder, it's awesome. I love it. And SaaS-based themes with variables to make it your own, which allows, I was actually talking with someone who's being interested in using Kendo UI, and they worked at a company that had, they had, as probably many of you are familiar with, multiple frameworks and libraries being used. So not just Angular, like they had React apps as well and Vue apps as well. And they wanted to talk about creating a like overarching brand theme for their company that integrated with Kendo UI on all those levels. And because, we do support SaaS-based themes, you can use SaaS and have your like company generic variables that trickle down to all of our components on every project. So that's really, really cool. Augment your existing UI stack. So components can be included one at a time, which is great because not many people need all 70. I mean, that would be impressive if like day one you wanted to implement all 70 components, but wow. So yes, you can do them one at a time, only as you need them. And we'll talk a little bit about that with the setup process for each component, as well as whenever you're using themes and styles and importing those things, because I've often heard it said back in the Angular JS days, people would really complain, about Angular and it being awful. And it was really just the way that they were using Angular that was awful. I don't know if this is ringing any bells with anybody, but there are ways that you can make sure that you're enabling tree shaking to do its best and that you're only using or importing the components and themes that you need. So I really do love that. And our docs walk you through a lot of that as well. We coexist nicely with other UI libraries. I once did a talk called Giving Bootstrap the Boot. It was probably my most controversial talk I've ever given. It was literally I got a ton of hate and a ton of love from that. And so either people were like, yes, 100%, I feel you on the bootstrap pain, or they were like, bootstrap is life. What are you talking about? So something that I've really, really enjoyed about Kendo UI is how easy it is to customize and how very few important tags are used across the components, because that was one of my pains that I had with Bootstrap. And so we're conscious of specificity, and we are only as specific as we need to be. And that really allows you to bring in your own custom styles or other libraries to integrate well with us. So no need to rip and replace. Let's get on to accessibility. And I feel like the chat is just really quiet right now. So, just say hi or pop in your favorite emoji, or, whatever you feel like. Accessibility compliance. Hey, Nathan, thanks. You make me feel not so alone. Hey, Kedar. Accessibility is in the foundation of Kendo UI for Angular. We offer compliance for Section 508, WCAG, and YARIA. Accessibility issues are treated with high severity. And actually, I'll go back to this one. I can vouch for. We do take accessibility super seriously, and we have a feedback portal. The feedback portal is not just for accessible issues. It's for really any issue that you have or any feature or component requests that you have. And so I'll have a link to that later on, but it's been neat working over the past couple of years with the Kendo UI team and along with the Angular team, and just seeing how they really do take community feedback and integrate it as soon as they can with their next roadmap plan. And so definitely reach out if you find issues or run into anything. So legendary technical support. So we have a support ticketing system and phone assistance, which I know for larger teams is really, really valuable. Or smaller teams, actually. Any size team, but if you have a massive team, our technical support is killer. A 94% customer satisfaction rate and a direct line of communication with the Kendo UI for Angular devs. And those are the devs that I was just now referring to, where I've seen just how serious they take customer feedback, and how even this morning we were on a call and they were interjecting with, no, we had a client that really did request this. This is important. And so, yeah, I love it. I love our feedback loop. Strong feedback loop to add features and components, and a roadmap driven by feedback through the feedback portal and support. Yes, so kendoui.com is the link you need. Throwing in this tired and true emoji, since Zoom does their own formatting. Tried and true, not tired. It's a tired and true emoji, Carl. I don't know. I don't know if any of you had a long weekend, but mine was a long weekend. Here we are. It's not quite mush. So you get not quite mush brain from Alyssa. But kendoui.com. I want to actually give some links out right now. And I think we might be ready. I'm going to stop sharing that. And let's see. Oh, almost. We're almost ready for our first demo. Let me grab. So the application that I mentioned earlier during the Angular relay is called, well, it is the Tour of Hero application that John Papa wrote and that the Angular docs actually go into for a lot of like questions or details. And so here, I'm trying to find, I have a quick link, which finding the quick link is like becoming longer than just getting the long link. So I'm going to give it to you all. Zoom chat. I can't find the emoji feature either. Is it a feature? Are we like doing Zoom wrong? I mean, both, okay, Kadar and Carl, you both have emojis, but did you like go and copy them off the internet? Okay. Here, my friends, is the Tour of Heroes project, and we won't be using it quite yet. And my first demo is actually in a Stack Blitz, but I'm going to need you, or I mean, you don't have to, you can just like visually watch as I do things and skip challenges if you don't feel like it. But if you want to do the challenges, there's a couple. You want to clone down that project, run npm install, make sure you can ng-serve, control command spacebar for Mac shows the emoji keyboard. Ah, look at you, brilliant person. So yes, check out the repo. We will have, I think we'll have one, if not, hang on, let me check the old agenda. I think we'll have one, if not two breaks, just one, maybe. So you have time to download and install, but would suggest, hopping on that. Let's go ahead and doopa file share. And then we're going to go to screen sharing. I have a couple more things to talk about. We talked about the 70 plus UI components built from the ground up for Angular, the design language support, as well as accessibility compliance, and our professional support and awesome feedback loop. So yes, kendoui.com. I will has a link. That's all correct English to you for my shortcut into the docs. Now you're like, why do you need a shortcut? We have a development branch version of our docs that I like to browse, but you don't have to. You can go to our normal docs. But I wanted to talk about, this is actually a slide from one of our latest webinars. And this was another one from one of our latest webinars. We do webinars quarterly on the latest components and the latest features. And we do a really fun, usually me and our React advocate will pair up for the webinar, and it's like half Angular, half React, but sometimes we invite the .NET people. But yes, I definitely recommend these webinars. This is where you get the latest and greatest. And I think just following, if you're a current existing customer, you should be on the email chain for these. But I think just following at Kendo UI can also make sure that you have access. So yeah, check out the Twitters. Forms guide. I think, let's see. The form demo is the first demo that I want to talk about. And boop, 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 boop. Trying to think if I want to do that first. Yeah, I think we can. We can jump over to the forms demo. I want to talk about the form guide, which was actually announced at one of those webinars I was talking about recently. And it is a guide that was created by the team that's not only if you're using like Kendo UI components, but it's also useful just in general for building the best possible forms that you can and being conscious of different issues that can arise, accessibility, things like that. So that is the link to our forms guide. I love it because sometimes it can be overwhelming. I mean, you think 70 plus components. How many of those are classified as like a form component? Like really any input, really any button, right? We've got so many. So I'm going to go over a couple of those before I hop into our form demo. But that form guide in our docs is great because it kind of shows you some really great examples of integration with like all of those components playing nicely in a form. So yes, we have labels. We do. We have a normal label as you would expect, as well as a floating label, which is where the label is a placeholder. Click into it and it transitions nicely into a normal label. We obviously have CLI support. So if you wanted to right now in your project, you go ng-add @progress/ Kendo-Angular-labels. And that is the heart and soul of installation for V6 Angular apps or later. So labels, inputs, forms, or not forms, buttons, anything like that, it's going to just change Kendo-Angular- the thing you're looking for. But yes, and then of course, importing your modules where you need them. So we also have inputs. These range from color pickers and range sliders to normal like text buttons or text boxes and radio buttons. And same type of deal. When you're building a form, it would be very, very normal to see an import not only for your label module, but for your imports module. And the text box specifically, I wanted to highlight because she's one of our newest. And you might be thinking, really? A text box is one of your newest components? Well, beyond ensuring a consistent look and feel across all your form elements, we didn't just do your average text box. You can do things like adornments, which I'll show off in a minute. But the text box, along with all of those inputs, is packaged nicely underneath Kendo-Angular-inputs. So yes, it even has things like validation icons, and we'll talk a little bit in my form demo about adding things like errors and hints that kind of belong to your input and appear when something goes wrong. So form components, right? Date inputs. So I think we might have just gotten to a point where we were like, this is a lot of inputs. We have too many inputs. So if you're looking for date inputs specifically, they are going to be packaged under Angular date inputs instead of just the normal inputs. And they include things like a calendar or a multi-calendar view where you can like actually have the pop-up where your date selection and navigating through months. Date inputs, date pickers, date ranges, time pickers, all those are underneath the date inputs. Yes, the last one, the button. I was a little confused. If you go to that forms guide that we talked about, and that I shared the link, and I can grab that link for you if you're sweating it. But if you go to the forms guide, you will see that some of the examples, they don't like import the buttons module. There is no buttons module. And yet there's a submit button on the form and you're like, wait, what? How is possible? So you don't actually need to import the button module for a simple button on your form. You can always just use the styles that are already imported because you've imported Kendo UI, you have our theme. So you can just go ahead and on your submit button, throw a K- button and it's going to style that. So there are reasons, and we have other buttons like a button group or a split button, drop downs, things like that do belong in forms or outside of forms. But sometimes you just need the simple submit button and you don't need to import our module, and we don't suggest that you do. But if you want additional configuration options, or you want one of the other buttons listed below, we do have that package. So yes, any questions, feel free to chime in. I'm going to be beveraging occasionally. I highly suggest you stay hydrated. I think we're ready for the forms demo, which I do have. I have written down, you're going to see my agenda. It's gorgeous. You all are going to love it. If I don't get Pog Champs in the chat, I'll be very upset. I use tape, colorful tape, which I don't even know if it's like my lights are like washing it all out. But I used colorful tape and I outlined our agenda. It's very official. Highly suggest, because you can move the tape around, right? Like, I know, I'm very high tech. But yes, it says here on the agenda we have a forms demo next, which we can jump into. And yeah, ask your questions as we go. I'm going to share a different thingamabob, and that is, of course, short for screen. Okay. So yeah, has anybody, while I am finding our stack blitz for this demo, has anybody tried Angular 11? Are you all up with the times? Have you installed it? I did it for the Tour of Heroes app that I shared, and I think it took 3 minutes. It was like crazy fast. It was like 3 minutes, and I had some dependencies that were like yelling at me, and they were like, "Wait, we need our old Angular back." So just ran ng update for those, but it was super fast and super flawless. Let's see. I'm seeing nobody in the chat, so I'm just assuming that you're all on V10. It's where my brain goes. Okay, here is our demo start. So I'm going to share this with you and let me know. I've not tried 11 yet. I know it was. If you've had half of a crazy week as I have, I would be right there with you with like not having time to try it yet. But they were like, "Hey, Alyssa, can you run a session for us on our update party?" And I was like, "Yeah, I should probably try to update." So it was pretty flawless. Here is StackBlitz starting point. You can follow along. I'm going to make some adjustments to that gorgeousness. Let me know if you can't access it, and I will go into settings and change the permissions so that you can. Yeah, to all panelists. Good. You should have that. You should see it. You should know it. You should love it. I see it. It works. Perfect, Josh. Thank you. Thank you, darling. Okay. But seriously, chat's too quiet. I'm not seeing it. Oh no. Oh no. Jane, let me know if it doesn't work for you still, and I can try some magic, but I am going, I'm not screen sharing if that's what you're expecting. I was just, I will, but I was just waiting to see if you're curious. I'm using Chrome to look at it. Yeah, are you using Chrome? I've only ever tested these things in Chrome. So if any of you are on some other suspicious business, I guess other browsers are okay. I shouldn't hate on them. Okay, let's share my screen. And I think it's this screen. Pretty positive. I'm pretty positive. All right. I wonder if my link didn't go through to all the panelists. Alrighty. So here is the gorgeousness itself. This is from our forms guide, and I'm actually going to take you on a journey. So if we go to Grid on Development branch, and I'm going to go and actually grab this link for you because this is a shortcut link to our grid, which we're not talking about at this moment of our lives. We will very shortly. But I always like to bookmark. This part is not important. I like to bookmark this in my bookmarks because of the dash develop. And so the latest and greatest will be on the dash develop branch. But if we take out develop, it should be the same thing, right? And we also are using stack blitzes for all of our demos throughout our docs, which is like beautiful, that you can super easily edit and modify. So I'm going to do a little documentation intro, and then we'll go back over to this gorgeousness and start poking around like this at the inputs. So yes, bookmark that that link straight away into the docs. Over here, as I was talking about earlier, whenever I was first getting started with Kendo UI, I was a little overwhelmed because there were so many components. And when I went to npm install or ng add or whatever I was going to do with them, I was like, okay, I just need an input. How do I get the input? And so, or I just need a button. How do I get the button? Or I need a drop down, and if you try to ng add a kendo-angular drop down, you won't get the drop down. So over here in our docs on the left-hand side, we have a tree of our components, and all of these big parent guys are the thing that you're going to want to install. So if we go into buttons and look at overview, these are the buttons that we were talking about. And I can actually bump this up a bit for screen sharing abilities. These are the buttons, and you can go into each one to look at their specific docs and the APIs around those. But if you scroll down on every single overview page, we have Alyssa's favorite section. I know it's probably like silly, but it is. It's one of my favorite sections in our docs, just because of how straightforward and easy it is to explain this part. And so, as I mentioned, we have ng-add, and you can find that ng-add command under, like if we go to charts and we go to getting started, scroll down to installation, you can find that command and copy it quickly for your terminals. But sometimes either your project's not in v6 or later, or maybe you're one of those cool projects that have not just one module, but you have a ton of different modules, feature modules, and you would like to manually install the component and then add the import into the feature module where it belongs, right? And so I really do love that we walk you through this and that we show you the ng-add command, as well as down here, if you're doing the manual setup, the npm install, like not just the button itself, but the dependencies that button package is going to need. And then, of course, we show an example of importing that in whatever module you'll need. So super, super easy setup, I think. Let me know if that's not what you found. But cool thing, let's go to boo-ba-doo, boo-ba-doo. So if we go under common features in our docs side nav and we hit up forms, this is where you're going to find the guideline. And I'll just put that in here for you. If you want to bookmark it, feel free. It's yours. Did that work? That did work. Well, at least it says that it's sent to all panelists. But again, if you're not seeing it, you should probably let me know. So I need to boog. That's what my mom says. Boog shug. Let's boog shug. We need to get moving so that we can get all of our that's really strange noise. It sounds like there's a car in my living room. So we can get all of our demos in today. But this is the forms guide that I was talking about. And something that I love is this is actually the form. I modified it a bit, but on anything, either in our forms guide, our docs, we have lots of examples. I love the little edit on Stack Blitz. I actually know the gentleman who wrote and are writing Stack Blitz, and really, really cool blogs. So I really love that we are using that now. I think you have to do panelists and attendees. Yeah, let me see, because, okay. Are you getting this? Tell me if you see that. Yes. Hot dog on a stick. I wish we would have figured that out earlier. Thanks, Josh. You're the only reason that they can see the links so far. But I am apparently now sending it to the right channels. So
no worries. I'll make sure you get this stuff.
Wow. It's okay. This is sparkling water. But if I seem derpy, it's because of just one of those weeks, y'all. One of those weeks. Okay. Without a further ado, I love that we're using StackBlitz on all our demos. You can go ahead and open this up, fork it yourself. The link that I shared and then Josh properly reshared is my modified version. So it's got a little bit going on. Okay, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Okay, so first, Carl, Nathan, yay! Thank you all. Seriously, if you're in the chat or like you're watching this and you're not saying things in the chat, that makes me sad faced. Okay, so I'm going to do something to get you all a talking. We're going to do a little mini challenge. So here again is mini challenge. Here again is this link, and you should actually get it this time. So here's the mini challenge. Open that up and tell me. We're actually going. Sorry, I'm opening the wrong thing. I'm like, where are my styles? I'm in the module. Why would there be styles? The first person who can tell me why this isn't working gets an Amazon gift card. Yeah. Background color. And some of you might already know where I'm going. So just shout it out in the chat. And not even the first person, maybe like the first two people. So like, don't even be discouraged. Background color pink. Let's also say like width of 1000 pixels. Let's get crazy with it. Give it a border. Why isn't this working? Why do we not see it? If I save, go. Well, you're probably like, because you haven't saved derp. 20 pixels, solid green, because that's what every border should look like. Save, nothing. If I refresh over here, nothing. I'll give you a hint. The answer is on screen. Why isn't it working? My host styles. First of all, have you all ever used host? Because I use it every day of my life. Literally. Host is for styling the root component that you're inside of, because generally, because of view encapsulation, you don't have access to that root component because you're already inside of it, right? Like, so you can normally add styles. Wow, I did not think it'd be this hard. Nobody? Nothing? I'll give you a couple of minutes because like it's on screen. Amazon gift card, yours to win. I've saved it, so you should be able to play around with it. But yeah, first person to tell me why our host styles aren't appearing. And I'll give you the answer. I'm not gonna be mean, but I really thought that more of you would get this. I believe in you all. So yes. Nobody? Nothing? Amazon gift card? Just take a wild guess. Like, tell me anything. I'm very surprised. I thought this would be like an instant. But I do spend most of my life in the CSS files. I do. .host instead of :host. Brandon, thank you for saying something, literally anything, because it's like hello, is anybody there? So Brandon, I will make sure that you get a prize just for chiming in. It is not because of that. I'm actually going to show you, but I appreciate you so flipping much for saying something because this is my first introduction to Angular. Oh, hey, welcome. I hope it's a good one. I just want you to know, Brandon, that I love Angular, and that's a lot of pressure to put on like my love of Angular to pass to you. So hopefully you love it too. I'm going to go ahead and go to angular.io, where you can find the docs. No, I'm not. I don't know if our search has improved. So I'm just going to be like, this Angular, and then I'm going to go into our docs. Don't judge me. Technically, Google and Angular, same like family company. So me using Google search is like I'm using Angular doc search. Okay, here we go. So I'm checking. Nobody said anything else. Nobody said anything. I am amazed. Here's our host. It is a special selector. Use the host pseudo-class selector to target styles in the element that hosts the component. So whenever you create components, I'm going to go over here to our stack blitz and like make the font 1,000 times larger. Can I? Yeah, that's gonna have to be. I know it's crowded, but we'll survive. So whenever you create a component, which this is what this is, at component, it kind of creates this root element. So if I open, I'm curious if I'll open their console. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're going to do the thing that I always tell myself. Say, Alyssa, stop opening the dev tools. Stop opening the dev tools whenever you're in Stack Blitz, because it's just so much is already on the screen. But I do it every time, so it's just I break my own rules. Okay, so if we go and look, boop, 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 which there is a bunch of Stack Blitz, not nonsense. Just there's a bunch of Stack Blitz happening here as well. So whenever I inspect our app, it'll be a little bit cleaner. But boop, boop. If I go ahead and let's find our form. So here is our K- form. And then if we go up to my app, you'll see that you won't be able to find the styles anywhere. And so if we go ahead and close this out, that's because we have view encapsulation disabled. So if you'll see down here below our styles, I have encapsulation : view encapsulation none. And so Angular is a very special way of how they do view encapsulation. And by default, it is turned on. So if I just get rid of this line completely, we should get a lot of weird styles happening. So view encapsulation is a way of, oh man, I feel a lot of pressure now, Brandon, because it is your first time, but I want you to love it as much as I love it. So I'm going to do my best. View encapsulation is the way that Angular adds different things into like the DOM as far as like markers for elements. There's a lot more that goes into it, but it essentially is like a way of saying these styles right here. I could literally say like input and then style the input to do something really funky and really special. And normally in a normal Angular app, without touching view encapsulation, just letting it do its thing, that input, those styles are only going to apply to this component, right? For me personally, being the CSS lover that I am, CSS, it is cascading, right? Cascading style sheets. And I've always been taught that you are conscious of the styles throughout your application and the hierarchy of them, and you kind of use that power of the cascade. Whereas I feel like view encapsulation it just like clips off cascade completely. Like it is a non-issue. And so a lot of people in Angular love this fact. They love being able to write styles for their components that don't go anywhere outside of that component. But they did give you a way of disabling that if you ever need that cascade back. And so throughout my demos, a lot of times you will see view encapsulation, none, right? And this host element, the marker for that host element, it's not there because I've turned off Angular's view encapsulation. So if you want to do something with the host element or you need your view encapsulation back, you can simply and easily remove this configuration line here. But yes, thanks for chiming in, Brandon. I'm going to, Carl, can you privately message Brandon and get some info from him? So make sure he gets a prize from us because he spoke out. He spoke out. Okay. Alrighty. Hopefully you're all are hanging in there, and we are going to now go and jump into the form. I'm going to put the chat over here so that I can see all of you beautiful people. And we're going to go and pull this up. Okay. Alrighty, so here in the form, you kind of already got an introduction to it based on my gibbering that we just went over. But essentially, we have my app with a template that we're pointing to. You can put your template in line. I don't like to put our template or our styles in line. So shout out in the chat. Are you an all-in-one component person, or do you like separate files for HTML and CSS? I always love asking this question. I recently, when we had John Papa separate, thanks Nathan, me too, separate files. See, there's a lot of separate files out there. Alyssa, separate. John Papa got on my stream, and look, Vivi and Van, separate file love. Thank you for that. It would depend, Josh. Yeah. So John Papa, surely you know him. He's probably one of the most famous people in the Angular community, I think. And he, maybe Misko Hevry hasn't beat. Anyways, he recently came on to the DevReach stream, and his modification of that Tour of Heroes app that I asked you to clone down, which originally was his application, was that he took all of my Sass, deleted it, took all my styles, put them back in the components, took all my markup, put them back into the TS file, the component TS file. And I was like, oh, thank you for that. Like it's just the way he works, and he very highly recommends that way of doing things. And I see the value as far as if your markup gets too long, it probably needs to be broken into multiple components. If your styles get too big, maybe you have too much duplication going on. Maybe you need to reduce those. And so it's an easy way of like staying conscious of those things. But for me, just not getting this, like the highlighting and the syntax styles, like that drives me crazy, first of all. And secondly, like I said, I spend most of my time in CSS and Sass and like doing custom things. And so not having my own space to do that makes me feel a little claustrophobic. But yes, so if we scroll on down, you can see, let's open up our HTML actually. And I once heard it said that if you can see 24 lines of code, then that's the right size. That seems, if it just feels really zoomed in, I'm going to make sure both of these are open, and then I'm going to collapse that. And then maybe we'll be happy. Let me know. I can bump it up again if this is too tiny, because 24 would be like even more than that. We're going to stick to this. But yeah, let me know. So here's our markup. And if we have a form element with a kform class, and then a form group, which is pointing to form. And then we have different Kendo form fields, different chunks that are wrapping things like the full name, the email, the phone number. And the reason for that, it would depend for me. Text size is looking good. Oh, thanks, Josh. Good. So the reason for those form groups, other than staying organized, because this label belongs to this input, it's also because this form error belongs to this input, and styling for those, where those form errors appear. And especially whenever you have a responsive layout, it can be important to group those together with form fields. So if we go down, we have, you saw the binding to form. This is set up in our constructor here, and this is where, sorry, the wrapping is throwing me off. This is where we're setting things like full name and email with validators. And we also have a submit form and a clear form method. So let's go back over to here. And the first thing about this form that drove me bonkers. This is literally how I teach. I just like go and I look at the things that drive me crazy, and then I teach how to not do that. Like was whenever I was filling out the form. So let's go ahead and show off some of that. Alyssa, and then if I click an email, but then I click away, this is the error that I was talking about with those form errors. It's right here. That email is required, and that is being triggered because we're looking for this ng-if of form controls email errors dot required. So we're looking for the required error to be thrown. We also, with those validators, really cool thing with actually text masking on this masked text box. I don't know why that word masked is really hard to say. So we're actually plugging in a phone number mask here. So you can see that we're like 918, this, and that. But as you know, phone numbers around the world vary wildly. And so the mask is actually, if we go down here and look at this phone number mask that we have plugged in, and we can change this to, like, let's say we wanted to do like dashes between everything. And I was actually working with UK numbers recently, and they're like I think they're like 13 numbers or something. I was like, oh, so many numbers. So if you modify this mask, you'll see over here that like our parentheses were taken out, and we still have, like, we have this dot, and we should only be allowed to put like 4 numbers after the dot because of what we're specifying here. Our docs go into a lot more detail about this, but I have to mention the mask because I think it's so freaking cool. Okay, I'm undoing because I want my old mask back. Any questions, feel free to shout them out. I'm going to keep moving on. So yes, the thing that was driving me crazy is whenever I would enter the number of nights for my stay, I would be like, hey, I want to stay for 4 nights. And then it would be like 4.00. And my first thought was like, maybe you want to stay for half a day. And so you want to allow for decimals. But then I got to number of guests, and I was like 7 guests, and it does the decimals as well. And I was like, you definitely can't have half a person. At least in my heart, you cannot have half a person. So my first thing was, hey, how do we change this? How do we make sure we don't get decimals? Because that's obviously the default. And so when we go over to our markup, and we're going to find our number of nights. Sometimes when I'm looking at this much text and it's this big, I get lost. So give me a second. Phone number is above it. And then we have the arrival date, and then we have the number of nights. Perfect. Okay. So we can actually add the format attribute and give it in. Just in. Thank you very much. Now, if I say number of nights 3, it's still doing it. Of course I did it wrong. Oh, I put it on the label. You've got to actually put the formatting where the formatting belongs, don't you think? I don't know what this accent is. Okay. So now if we go and do number of nights, it stays a number. It doesn't do a decimal. Or if we use the toggle buttons, it should stay. I need to go ahead and do it for the number of guests as well on that numeric. On that numeric text box. So I want to pull up our docs and talk about formatting just real quick. And we're going to have a break very soon, I promise. But now, as you go through and you modify using either the stepper or you type it in, those numbers stay numbers and not decimals. Something really cool with our formatting, though, is like, let's say you want to specify the number of decimals allowed. And this is in our number of guests. So if we go here, it will go to 1 decimal for N1, or you can say N5, and it should go to 5 decimal places. And so this is just part, like a blip of the formatting, like that's available to our inputs. And I've spent so many hours of my life building out forms, and just the ability to just have this formatting built in and to be able to utilize it. I know it's simple, but it's all of these super simple features like piled on top of each other that stay up to date with the latest Angular, like that make it so incredibly valuable. but even things like min and max, right? Like we see so many times whenever we're booking rooms that you have to have a minimum number of nights. And so I've actually already set the minimum number of nights to 2, but we could say minimum number of nights 3. And then inside of our Kendo form error, say minimum of 3 nights required, save that. And then if you try to do anything like first of all, the first time you press on this increase value button, it pops into the minimum. Beautiful, right? Like just use cases like that. So easy. But if I try to manually type in a different thing, it'll the error will pop up. The label will turn red and the error message will appear on screen, letting the user know what's going on. So I love that. Another thing I want to talk about. Oh yeah, let's talk about. I'm going to pull this over to this window so that you can see it. Let's talk about, I think you can see it. Holler back if you can't. But this is where you can find a little bit more information about formatting. And our docs link to this, of course. But things like, you might be like, why N? I don't understand N. Or if we go down, I think you can see, let me go to N2. You can see examples where it lists out not only the N specifier, but N2 different values and how it adds decimals and things like that. But like I said, there's things beyond that, like C for currency, or down here we've got, what is A for? Same as C specifier, A specifier uses currency accounting format. So there's a lot of different formatting options built in, ready to go. And I just flipping love it. I was super impressed by it. And yeah, I don't know if you've been through the pain of building out forms and keeping up with those things and making sure those error messages and hints happen. But it's invaluable. So yes, I wanted to, so we talked about errors showing, let's go to, I think I'm going to skip that. But yes, feel free to shout out in the chat if you have any questions about forms or any form component that we have. I want to show a hint real quick because we have lots of errors. But if we go down to our form field for the number of guests, oftentimes you have additional information. Boop. And we're going to shift tab that over, tab that under, save that. So now we've added a form hint, and it says maximum of 5 guests. Babies under 2 are not included in your number of guests. So things to help clarify while people are filling out forms. But yeah, so that's form errors, form hints. Let's go over to our styles real quick. Something I wanted to show. Again, with giving Bootstrap the boot. One of my earlier dev jobs was joining a team that had Bootstrap, but they had so many custom items. I mean, like one of the custom builds I did was custom color pickers because they were a fabric printing company, and none of the existing color pickers or color picker APIs out there would work for the color formats they needed. And so I actually got to build that sucker from scratch. A lot of people are groaning right now. I had a freaking fantastic time. The biggest problem was Bootstrap doing that, because I would write my custom styles, make my component, add it to the project, and solo, running separately, it would look how it needed to look. It would function how it needed to function. But when I put it inside of our project, I love you, Bootstrap, but it had its grubby little paws. Bootstrap oftentimes is notorious for using way too many important tags, so over specificity, and then also being way generic with their styles and their class names. And so the simplest of things will be overridden. And so this is something that whenever I joined the team, I was crazy surprised to find wasn't the case for our library, because if I wanted to, for instance, this form field here with our I agree with terms of conditions, with our checkbox, and with our text. I'm like, what? Why can't I think of the name? The label for the checkbox. It kind of drives me crazy that they're on top of each other. I don't like that default. I get that that's a default for like every other thing on the form, but that specifically I didn't like. So I would actually, the way that I would do this on any project is I would inspect this and I would find out what class this wrapper is using. I not necessarily a class, but I would try to find a good way of identifying this. And so I see here that we've got the class of K form fill checkbox wrap. And so my first gut reaction would be to go ahead and call out that class, do it correctly though, and just throw a display flex on there. That'd be my first try. And it works instantly. I know it looks super easy and you might be at home like, yeah, it works. What? But this kind of thing can be so painful to do to other libraries. And I can't say it enough how well we play with not only your custom styles, but with other things that you might be using, because we are conscious about our specificity. So so it's inline now and it looks gorgeous. So let's see if I have anything else to talk about with this form demo. I don't think so. At one point I wanted to show you this. I love doing these hacky things. You're welcome. Where I go and the formatting is all jacked with that, but I go and I create things like this all the time so that I can actually see like, what am I getting from this? And I think it's because it's inside of that. Hold. I grabbed the wrong thing. There we go. Kendo form error. I usually, let's put it under, let's do it under guests. So I love doing this kind of thing where you can log out like the form errors that you're seeing or what you're actually seeing for the entire application. And so if I go to number of nights now and I type 1, I think I'm doing this wrong. 1 second. ng form controls number of nights errors. Yep. And then I'm saying that, and we want to parse the JSON. You always have to ask yourself, did I save today? Anywho, this is a super hacky thing that I like to do, but I just wanted to show you that you can actually just look for the errors that we're throwing, because maybe you want to throw an error message for required, but maybe you want to throw it for like the min or the max. And so, because I think right here, it's forms.controls.number of guest errors, and it's looking for the max error. And let's see, is it going to pop up? Is it? It might not be. 1 sec. Number of nights. Oh yeah, it's because I'm on the guests and none of you caught it. Do you need to put it outside of Kendo form field? Yeah, so the reason is because I'm actually in the wrong form field. Because I'm looking for a number of nights error, and it would never pop up because I'm editing the number of guests. So herkadurka. Go back up to this. Let's do it here. Let's do it inside of here. And let's bring it over and check if it shows up now. Yay! I know it's super ugly, but what we're getting out of this is min error, right? So we're getting a minimum error is not being met. And so you know that if you want to go ahead and write a specific message for minimum 3 nights required, you need to look for that min error that's being thrown. But there's even things like the required error is being thrown here. So I I digress. I want to stop that and go over here. We're actually going to take a 10-minute break because you've earned it. Okay. So I'm actually going to go back to my favorite place, my safe place. Whoops. You got to love it when you close the last tab and then you lose everything. Okay. Sorry. I did not realize that would close the screen share. Sharing the screen. It's super easy to do if you can find the button. Okay. So we're going to go to my favorite place, which is the grid on development branch, but develop was a little slow earlier. So we're going to take off the develop and enter our docs. The next thing I want to talk about is our theme builder, which let me actually make sure I have the chat up. Curious how many of you in your jobs, I know, Brandon, you said you were new to Angular. How many of you in your jobs, is it your job or part of your job at least to create a theme, to work on a brand, to like make sure that components are consistent with your brand and theme? Shout out in the chat. I want to hear how many of you actually like that encompasses what you do, because for me, that's always been my area. Me, yeah. Jane said it's definitely in their wheelhouse. So let me go down. If you go on the left hand side of our docs to all of those awesome umbrellas that you install and you get the different components, go down below those to styles and themes. And let's check out the theme builder. So this is a great place to, like, first of all, talk about, I'm going to make it like a little bit smaller, but as I mentioned earlier, we have the 3 different themes, our default theme, the Bootstrap theme, and the material theme. So like the idea behind the Bootstrap theme or the material theme is that if you're already using those things in your projects and then you use Kendo UI components, they match, right? Like, so, but of course, if you are using your own custom things and you want to just use our default one, I think that might be our most popular. I'll have to find out from Carl. I am curious which ones are most popular. But anywho, so this is where the under styling and themes in our docs, where you can find, and I'm actually just going to be like, hey, here you go, world, where you can find out more about the themes, about customizing them, installing them, things like that. But if we go down to the link that I really wanted to get out, which was the theme builder link, Carl said that material design is pretty popular, but our default theme wins because it's the default. Preach it. Here is our theme builder docs. It's not the actual application. You click on that link and scroll down to actually go into the theme builder application, which we shall do. Okay. Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful. Okay, so I have another challenge. And it's going to happen. I know you all are very quiet. I know it's either late or early, wherever you are. But this will make this the big challenge, right? Like the one that we really want you to participate in. I've got a couple other little ones, but and I don't know what prize we want to give away, Carl, like t-shirts or gift cards or what have you. But you might want to pay attention as I use our theme builder and then I import a theme of my choosing, because the challenge is going to be doing that exactly yourself. And if you have not cloned that repo, now would be the time to clone that repo. And you're like, hey, what repo? I just joined. What are you talking about? I will copy that link. GitHub. There you go. So yes, pull that down. npm install. ng-serve. Get it going. Okay. So start theming. You can import, if you've already have a customized theme and you want to continue customizing it, you can use the theme builder to import, but we are going to start from scratch. Default's totally fine, but you can obviously choose the base of either of those. And then here's the fun part. As you scroll, you will see a very long list because we have 70 plus components. You can use this button here to select or deselect all of them. Just for kicks and giggles, we're going to go with all of them. But as I said in the introduction, you want to be conscious of what you need and what you don't need. Don't import our whole library if you're just using our inputs, right? So same thing with the theme builder. You can customize it to, I don't need autocomplete. I don't need the combo box. I need all of them. I don't need all of them. And so you just scroll down and say create. And this is going to take you into the heart of the theme builder, which is amazing. Again, post your questions. Carl is standing by. And I think, yes, so the first link that you have, the latest link that I've sent is the tour of heroes that you need to clone down. The one above that is the theme builder if you want to follow along and practice using our theme builder. So here you have literally all of the variables with color pickers that you can customize yourself or input like a hex. But we also have color swatches, which is really, 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 really cool. Because these are, obviously, contrast should be like one of your most important things. If people can't read it, they can't do it. They can't see it. They can't action item it, right? So it's really great. I love that we have these default, what do you call them? Default swatches, I guess. Default themes that you can throw on that will use these swatches to color the theme, and then you can customize it from there as well. I don't know why I'm not getting anything. Let's go with just buttons, yeah. And let's see if they can appear. And then I want to do powder blue because I love how it looks. I might have to hard refresh. I don't know. Well, I'm not seeing anything. Here we go. Hard refresh. I earlier had like really strange, what do you call it? Chrome issues. It was my Chrome was crashing and I was like, is this me or is this you, Chrome? So I don't know. Holler back if anybody, we should see what we're not seeing is the preview. Let's try something else. Let's try, on the right-hand side, whenever we select things, we should see a preview for those elements. I do believe. Let's go ahead and say download, test. Interesting. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. I could try Safari. Okay, so Josh says that he is seeing it change colors, and Jane is saying it's working for them as well. Let me think of what I could do. Definitely not that. Working on my side as well, using Chrome too. Idea. Let us quit the Chromes. I don't really know what else to try. I could try Safari. I'm not a huge fan of Safari. I mean, it's okay. All right, we're going to quit Chrome. Reopen Chrome. Technical issues are the best. Okay. I didn't do my ceremonial sacrifice to the demigods before I jumped on here. So really, this is on me. Josh is using Chrome too. Vivi says it works and it could be a cache. Luca, me too, works for me. Well, thank goodness. Thank goodness it's just me. I promise that if you're like just following along and you're not pulling it up yourself, I promise the theme builder is beautiful. And it works. It's I don't know. I could have cached something weird. I am testing it out on my side to see if I can get it working. What is my Dickens? Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to, since most of you are seeing it working for you, I do apologize if you are one of the people who are watching this stream after the event. Sorry about that. Because you'll just need to pull up the link yourself and try it out, because I have no idea what's going on. But I'm going to go ahead and show using it in your application. So what I'm going to do is pick powder blue. And what usually happens is the components that you have selected will be over here underneath theme preview. And I might have some weird cache issue going on. I have no idea. Earlier, the development branch was being funky for our docs. So maybe it's something I did. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Anywho, so after you've selected, maybe a base swatch that you want to do, and then you've customized it, you can download it. And so that's what we're going to do. And then I named mine powder blue. So I'm going to name this one powder blue 2 to not conflict in my downloads. And I think at this point, I actually need to share my whole screen. The whole thing. Just desktop, I think. Yeah, that should be happy. And we'll turn our off notifications. Okay, cool. So now it will download, as you can see in the bottom of my Chrome, or hopefully you can see. I'm going to pull up the chat again. Chat. Okay. If you've just joined, we're currently looking at the 2 links. Yeah, thanks, Josh. Earl said not having any issues. And again, Luca, it's working. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But yes, we are going to go over to my terminal. And yeah, I am using Oh My ZSH. You're right. It is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. I can share my theme with you if you want. But I'm going to show you that I'm inside of the Tour of Heroes, which is Josh just pasted the link from the GitHubs. Clone that down. I always have to do this. It's like a ritual. Yep, I'm way ahead. I'm way ahead. You'll get all the goodness later. But as of right now, we're just going to run ng-serve. And if you didn't know, oh yeah, I should make this like, I can't see your terminal. That's bizarre. Thinking, doing, trying. All right, tell me now. Can you see it now? Maybe? If not, this is going to be interesting. I mean, you don't need to see the terminal, but hopefully you can see. Josh says, I see it. Oh, I think Zoom is being weird. Yeah. She's a special creature, that Zoom. Okay. So yeah, you didn't even hear my whole, oops, I just tried to Command K the chat. So I'm going to run, as you can see here, I'm inside of my Tour of Heroes. I'm going to run ng-serve with HMR prize to the first person in chat who tells me the correct meaning of HMR. What does it stand for? HMR. HMR. It's a new feature for version 11 in Angular. You get a prize. All you have to say, what does HMR stand for? Come on, you can do it. I believe in you all. I know you all love the Angulars as much as I do. Hot module reload. And nay for the prize. Although I think we definitely need to give Mike a prize, because even people on the Angular team think it should be hot module reload. Like that's what it should be. But if you look in the docs, it's hot module replacement. I don't know why. Yeah. See, Nathan's with the reload too, thinking it should be that. And Brandon said replacement. And Joseph. Good job, guys. Okay, so it is replacement. I don't like that it's replacement. I don't condone that it's replacement, but it is. There it is. Hot module replacement is enabled for your dev server. Okay, so while she's doing her thing, we're going to go over to my VS Code. And we don't need all these things open. I apologize. I did not reset my workspace before I just threw you in it. So you get to see all of like literally the million things I have open. Okay, here we go. So welcome to the My Little Pony version of the Tour of Heroes. I hope you all enjoy this. Not all of the code is mine. I cannot take credit for it. First of all, as I mentioned, John Papa started this project, and the Angular docs often refer to it. Anytime you hear Tour of Heroes, or you see a demo and it's mentioning heroes of any sort, that's this project. That's the project that you are cloning down and running npm install on, or maybe you already had it, but you need this version because it has ponies. I was working with one of my fellow advocates doing the webinars that are so freaking awesome. Please get on our mailing list or like follow Kendo UI, because they're one of my favorite parts of this job, is getting to do those webinars. But he has this project for React. He calls it Acme Solutions, and it's this fake company that he's made up. But anytime we get a new feature or component, he'll add it to this like app that he has ongoing. And I was so jealous. His name's TJ Vantol. Hey, the host is sharing poll results. Did you figure something out, Josh? I think Josh figured something out, because I don't know if you're seeing it. It's on my screen, so you should be seeing it. Anywho, maybe it timed out. I don't know. Let me know if you're seeing the poll results. I bet it's private to me, so you're probably not seeing it. Anyways, so TJ Vantol has this React app that he continually builds to and adds to, and I freaking loved it. Nathan sees it. Earl sees it. Okay, well, cool. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, doing something creative. I'm absolutely flattered that 31% of you think that of me. I just play video games. I think I use all of my creativity on this stuff, and then I just like have nothing else to give, but that's very sweet of you for saying such a thing. Anywho, back to the story. I do have ADHD, severe ADHD. I got it from my mother. And so, if you noticed the distraction or the energy, it's from that. But yes, so I was super jealous, and I was deciding to myself that I needed an application. And I thought everybody in the Angular community knows about the Tour of Heroes, right? Maybe, I don't know. I thought this to myself. And so I cloned it and I made it my own. Let's go ahead and check in on our, compiled successfully. This is the ZSH business that I was talking about with the pink. I don't know if you can tell, but I really like pink. So now we're going to go back to the Chromes, and we're going to open up our local host, and the gloriousness for you to behold. Okay, one sec. Everyone, avert your eyes as I go open up my pony grid, and I hide this H2 because she's not supposed to be there right now. Okay. So this was the application. Sorry about that. I stopped the poll since all answered. Didn't realize it would take over. Okay. Well, that's cool, Josh. We're learning together. I think the next poll that we do, we just stop it whenever we're ready to see the results, and then we'll have them and it'll be perfect. I think 10 minutes was way too long of a break, though. And you all can tell me differently, like if you need a break or if you want no more breaks, because we have enough content to fill the time. So anywho, here's the app that I created. I think it's gorgeous. There are bugs. I'm not perfect. But there's little things like you hover over the pony cards and the ponies move. You go to the heroes page, and I don't know. I really, really, really like, can you raise your hand in the chat with like an emoji of hand raising, or I don't know, just gibberish. Just put anything in the chat right now if you've seen the original Tour of Heroes application, because she's not the prettiest thing in the world. I think I had, and it was not pink. Carl's seen it. Yeah. Nathan's seen it. with the pondering. I love that. I love that emoji. Okay. It's like, I think my third most used emoji, second to like the heart one or maybe the shrug. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't pink at all. And there's a lot of styles missing. So John Papa added this messaging thing down here where if you go somewhere, do something, fetch anything, it will list it out. So that's what's happening in the messages. I tried to keep a lot of the default functionality the same as the Tour of Heroes application so that when Angular people came and they saw this application and they were looking at it, they saw the familiarity of the defaultness, but then they also saw the beautification that I did. And recently with the DevReach, the Angular relay that I was talking about, this was the application that I had, I think those 9 speakers add something to. I haven't closed all of the PRs, but I closed a lot of them, merged a lot of things. And so things like this, hire a hero, this was not me. This was a friend who did that. And then there's a couple of things like the notifications at the bottom. Also, somebody else who added that to it. So in a very long way, I'm just saying, be kind. It's a very big mashup and she needs some cleanup. If you want to open a PR for that, go ahead. But so anyways, there's just things like a drop down that loads all the ponies that you can like search for. Even the loading, like I didn't add the loading, that was a friend. I think that loading needs to be put onto the component itself, not the whole page. But I digress. I shall make things happen. But yes, and then you can add new things. So I'm actually going to add, let's see, Nathan was the last one who said anything. And I love people who talk in the chat. So Nathan Pickard is now going to be a pony. And the default ponies get this purple icon. I want to randomize it so they get one of the random icons that we have, but you can also go into the details page and view. Right now, there's just like an ID and the name that you can edit. But if we go to the dashboard, these are like highlighted heroes. I think that's pretty much the tour of heroes that I wanted to show you. But let's go to our VS Code. And if you're curious how and why it's colored like this, again, John Papa, big fan, and also he's a friend. I'm using his Peacock VS Code extension. So you can change your workspaces to have different colors, because I don't know if you've ever had multiple like VS Codes open at once. And I mean, this is just special to me, but I will be coding in one and then realize I'm in the wrong project. And I'm like, oh, dang. Like, so anyways, it helps keep you organized. I love it. So we have, like I said, those things. We're going to pull in our theme builder though. Let's see. I want to share this and do that and then tell me if I need to I'm hoping that just sharing this will make the font a little bit bigger, but let me know if I need to make the font bigger. But we're just going to quickly show. Okay. We're going to quickly show using a theme that we've created. So let's go to, oops, sorry. 1 second, darlings. I downloaded Powder 2. And I am trying to pull that up. Perfect. Much better. Okay. So yes, please, if you want to take part in the challenge that's about to be issued, please download this app and run npm install and get it running, because you will need to submit a screenshot, which Josh, you said that we cannot submit screenshots. Was that what you said?
Yes, I could not figure out how to send a screenshot through the chat. Unless somebody has an idea, just let us know in the chat.
Okay. We might have to have ooh, I know. I need you to tweet me a screenshot, super dorky. Tweet at me at Kendo UI at Alyssa Nicoll. I don't know why they have those weird things. Okay. So that's what you're going to do. You'll tweet the screenshot. We'll pull up the Twitters. And actually, I'll have Carl pull up the Twitters and just be watching them and for submissions. And we won't wait for submissions, but basically my favorite theme will win a prize. So hint, I like pink. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm checking my to-do list, making sure that I have everything. We walked through the theme builder. We've downloaded that. You are hopefully running the Tour of Heroes project now. So there are multiple ways to inject the CSS that the theme builder gives you. And I'm actually going to show you. I know it's annoying that I'm changing the screen share again. I apologize to you. Okay. And we're going to put that over there and make sure that I have chat up. Boo, boo. Okay. So if we go to, sorry, I have a theme link that I had my boss create, but I am not finding it. I think I put it in the slides, which is like a great place for something to be, unless of course you're not working in the slides. So yeah, we're going to move that down there. No, let's just quit it. I don't need it. I don't need it. Oh, wait. That's the theme builder link. Herkadurka. I love you all. Forgive me for my derpiness. We want the customizing themes link. There you go. There you go. Have all the links, why don't you? So the customizing theme link should be a really good place for you to go whenever you want to use, whether it's the theme builder or you just want to actually customize the theme like from scratch. And so you can click on like which theme it is that you want to customize and check out all of the different variables that you can override and provide base variables for. Then if you go back to that main page that I linked to, you know what I just realized? It's all going to you privately. There's that, and there's that. Okay, there you go. Sorry, attendees. I love you all. So yes, this is where our docs will outline the build process of the application, how you go ahead and customize a theme, and how you can use like the themes from our theme builder as well. This is, of course, all underneath that styling and themes umbrella. And so what we're doing is customizing an existing theme. And whenever you let me know if you can see this, I think you should be able to. I don't think I can make Finder's text bigger. But this is my downloads folder where I downloaded Powder Blue. And I had already modified that folder. Let's just delete all of it except for the zip. So I downloaded Powder Blue 2 zip. And if we open that up, it gives us a Powder Blue CSS folder. And it also gives us a variables.scss folder. We realize that not everyone has the pleasure and privilege of using Sass. So those customized themes, the little variables, the things that you changed in the theme builder on top of every component that you selected, and those base styles are going to be in this CSS file. That's where you're going to find them. The variables SCSS file is wonderful because this is where if you are using Sass, you can literally just import these, and it's just amazing because let's go ahead and open it up. Where is the VS Code? Thank you, VS Code. She didn't listen. 1 second. We're going to get this and drag it in here. There you go. So yes, it's amazing. It has all these variables to find. So we're going to boo, 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 boo. Make that a little bit bigger. I think it should be bigger. Okay. So yes, now that we are using Sass, so we don't need to include that all, like the powder blue .css. We really just need these variables to get our beautiful powder blue happening. And so we want to go into our, sorry, trying to find where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and add it to our assets folder. So in my assets folder here, you should see, can I make it bigger? I can. Yay. I can make it massive. In our assets folder, you should see fonts, images. I have that. This is where those cute little avatars are coming from that I generated and randomly assigned. But then we also have our colors and our fonts. And so this was created by me because I did a lot of special things with the fonts. I don't know if you noticed in the headers. And so I needed a special font file to just go ahead and say this is for the extrude, the outline, and then the base pony. And then I needed a special file for colors that if you'll go to one of the style sheets like styles.scss or root folder, you'll see that I'm importing those and then I'm using those. And so this is where inside of our styles.scss, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I just realized I don't have chat up, so I can't see you if you're yelling at me. Okay, perfect. Now it is up. So this is where we're going to go ahead and import our powder blue theme. But first we need to go ahead and add that to the project itself. So if we go and we take the downloads, where are you? I need to see powder blue. And we're going to just drag this next to my colors, fonts, and variables. We could probably get a little bit more fancy with our organization here in assets. But for now, I'm okay with it. And we need to move this bar. Okay. So now when we go back to our styles, we are literally just going to add this import from source assets powder blue variables. And I think, yes, what I'm doing right now, whenever you use ng-add, I do believe that inside of inside of your Angular JSON, inside of your styles, this is where it's going to go ahead and throw the pointer to the Kendo UI themes and inject them. But I ripped that out happily, and I just put it in my root style sheet right here where I have import, and then I'm importing our default theme. This is where you would say something like dash material or dash bootstrap. But essentially, I'm putting my variables import above my all import. And literally, if we go to, I think I need to share everything again. I share everything. If I go to this, and it's upset because I think I was importing maybe before the file existed, maybe. We'll see. It could be a different thing. We'll see. It's taking our sweet time. So I'm going to pull up chat and see if anybody's saying anything. Almost there. Almost. Oh, we do have an error. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller so I can read. Module build failed. Can't find style sheet variable.scss. I wonder, oh, this is wrong because I did not put it inside of powder blue. I think what I should do is put it inside of powder blue though, because sometimes you want, I'm going to go back to my Finder. Sometimes you want to do like a light theme and a dark theme. And let's rename this to just powder blue and put it inside of our assets folder. Whoops. So if you wanted a dark theme and a light theme, I want to copy the folder and it's there, and I'm going to delete this. Then it would be better to have like a dark theme, light theme folder where everything's organized, and then you can have your overrides happening. But yes, so I'm going to put my powder blue here, and I think we should run now. I don't know if I need to restart my server. I don't think so. I think it should be happy. Going to the Chromes. Pip pip. Oh, she already reloaded. Excellent. It's very subtle, but if you'll notice, the X buttons are now that powder blue color, and on hover, they're the darker powder blue color. I think if we go to our dashboard and we select the drop down, it is now the powder blue color. And of course, the hovers are a darker powder blue. And again, this was super subtle. I could have gone to like a complete dark theme, and whatever, like the button here has gone to blue. I think it was orange by default. Actually, let me go ahead and just show you a side by side. So I'm going to go back to my VS Code and, idea. Let's do this. Let's put VS Code on this side of the screen, put this on that side of the screen, and move chat over here. And that's not what we wanted to click upon. Okay. So now you should be able to see them side by side. Hopefully, holler back if that's not what's happening in your life right now. I'm going to collapse that a little bit. So if I comment out our variables that are coming from powder blue, and I let that HMR do its thing, you'll see that the button on the right side of the screen turned orange. Please forgive this button from popping out of its container. Again, I don't take credit for the Hire Hero page. I know I should have cleaned it up. Anywho, so the button is back to orange. If we go to the dashboard, this drop down is back to different shades of gray. Bring this back in, boop, boop. Variables will override the default, and our world should be happy again as soon as it reloads. And there it is, the light blue. So yeah, let me know what you think of theming. That is really the crux of it. It's super simple, pretty basic. Our theme builder is awesome because then you can go ahead and like re-import that theme, continue to modify it, and make your own brand out of it. And I love it. I love it, love it, love it. This is something I'm going to actually throw up real quick. Tell me if you can see the theme builder challenge. Holler back in the chat. Can you see it? Because this is the challenge, and the best submission will win an Amazon gift card. Multiple submissions have a chance of winning. I'm not opposed to that. If multiple people submit gorgeous themes, I can see theme builder challenge. Awesome. Thank you, Josh. You're amazing and beautiful. So yeah, here's the challenge. Clone the project, open the theme builder, build a gorgeous theme. There's the short link to it if you have not opened it yet. Add your custom theme to the project, and in the chat, which we cannot do. So in the Twitters, I'm pretty like OCD. So we're going to go ahead and change that right now. At Alyssa Nicoll at Kendo UI. Both, all of those. Save, press play. So yeah, add your custom theme, the variables.scss to the project. You don't have to do it the way that I did it. You can do it any way that you want. You just have to get the theme working. And then make the screenshot like where I can see the theme is working. I know there's not a ton there. Maybe open the drop down and screenshot that, or you can go ahead and add something in. You have all night to make this happen, but the best submissions that I like the most will be sent an Amazon gift card. So is the idea to change what you have already? The idea, I mean, yes and no, Josh. The version that you have of my application does not have the powder blue in it. It's just the default Kendo UI theme. So the idea is just to show that you have modified the theme in some way using our theme builder. But yeah, So this is the challenge. Send me a screenshot of the modified, like really any page, but it'd be great if you picked a page that we could see the theme change. Because we have not added all the components yet. We're about to add a grid. It's gonna get crazy up in here. We're about to add a grid, but you really do have all night. There's no rules. We make the rules. So yeah, send me a screenshot of the modified theme, and you'll be entered to win a gift card. Really, I'm just gonna send out like to the prettiest themes. Okay, so the next topic of interest. I wanted to put that theme challenge out there. You can be working on it. You cannot be working on it. The next thing I wanted to show real quick is boo, boo, boo. We're just going to touch on this really quickly, and then we're going to get to grids. So if you're here and you're all about the grids and you're like, where are the grids? I need them. They are coming. Okay. We are so close to talking about grids. Okay. Do that, go there, pull that up. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, you can see here that I removed our styles from being imported inside of the Angular JSON. I removed that. All we have is our default style sheet, and I imported it here. But something that's like a really, really super awesome, a great idea for you to do if you're using Kendo UI or really any UI library, it's always great to be conscious of what you're using. Like, don't use anything except what you need to use. So I'm going to go ahead, and I think what we're using so far, let's see. I am trying to find, there they are. So really what you would want to see, instead of having this all import, is something like this, where you're importing only like the grid, or only inputs, buttons, and the list view, right? And that way, if we go like this, boop, 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 that way you're only pulling in the styles that you really need. And I right now am going to keep this because I don't know how far we're going to get and how many components we're going to add. But just as like a friendly reminder, when I push up the final time, I'm going to leave this in there just so that you can, hey, maybe you should only import the things that you need. Those are in our node modules. You go to progress. I know it's horrendous. You're like, why are you showing us? Why are you showing us node modules? And then you go down to the Kendo theme. We're using default. And inside of the SCSS folder is all the options for the individual SCSS files that you can import. I will close node modules now and ne'er open them again. So yeah, I think that closes us out on themes, potentially, probably. I don't see any questions about themes, I don't think. Maybe not. Okay. But at Alyssa Nicoll, at Carl Bergenham, we will answer your questions from now until eternity about all things, but specifically Kendo UI would be great. So DM us if you think of anything after the fact. I always like to mention this because that's whenever my questions tend to happen. Okay. I think we're ready for the mini grid demo. Do we have time for the mini grid demo is my question. Let's see. We are at 5:14 my time. We're going to go till 6. So we've got about 45 minutes left. I don't think we have time for, we'll take like a 2-minute break after the mini grid demo. We'll make it super, super quick in case anybody needs to get some water or something. But let's do the mini grid demo. Let's pull that up. I'm going to stop my server. We will be back in the Tour of Heroes app to do a larger grid demo with our pony data in a minute. Components, we're definitely not going to have time for those slides. I have like 30 additional slides to cover like extra components if we wanted, but yeah, she's not going to happen. All right, let's go ahead. Josh, I hear you. Did you want to say something, darling?
The Bravery also had some more polls we could run during the 2-minute break.
That's awesome. Okay, let's do it. We can do a 5-minute break, but let me get this grid demo done first. We'll 5-minute break it, and then we'll come back for the meatier stuff before we close out. Because we can run any, and I don't know if you can run multiple polls at once. I don't know how you want to do it. But sorry, we only had time for 2 breaks this sesh.
Oh, no worries. I can not do it too if you it's all up to you.
Okay, we'll probably fit in one more poll. But yes, let's go to. Let me pull up our grid demo. Pull that over there. Make it that font size. And we're going to close that. Okay. I think we're ready to share. Here we go. And I'm going to paste this bud to everybody. Hopefully you all get it. Zoom is hard for me. I don't know why. There's Twitch I'm like pretty good at now, but sometimes the simpler applications I'm like, what am I doing? So here's the grid. She is one of our most popular components. And I can probably make this a little bit bigger so that we can see a little bit more. I'll actually just close out the code right now so we can look at the grid in all her glory. So yes, lots of features. We'll touch on a few during our remaining time during the workshop, but check out the grid docs for all of the juicy details. It's a really incredible, just super incredible. I was trying to think if I wanted to have you do this next challenge. So I'm gonna put the challenge out there, and if anybody nibbles and wants to do it, great. If you are all too sleepy or tired, no worries. Just want to give you chances to win prizes and make this as interactive as possible. So the next challenge, and again, the theme builder challenge is still out there, still going. You can still win a gift card, but this challenge is who can create a grid using the Tour of Heroes pony application, and just like the simplest grid with like any data showing. So if you send me on the Twitters a screenshot of you with grid data showing, then putting that notification off the screen, then you can win a prize. So send it out. But this is our grid. I'm going to go over a couple, and this is my mini grid example, and I pasted the link in chat if you want to open up the Stack Blitz yourself. But we will pop into our Tour of Heroes 2 challenges. I know, Josh, I know, too many challenges. Yeah, again, first time doing a workshop, and I was like, how many exercises is too many exercises? How much demo do I do? So we're all learning together. But yes, I am going to, let's see.
Sorry, Alyssa, I was trying to type things out for you, but I accidentally hit enter.
Oh, no worries. Did I break something? You can tell me if I broke something.
No, you didn't. I'm trying to help you document it so that I can put it up for everyone.
Thanks. Okay, so this grid, as you can see, we've got a lot of horizontal things happening. I don't have a lot of screen space. There's not much we can do about that, but we could show more vertically. And so one of the first things, if we go ahead and open up, I'm going to open up our TypeScript and our HTML. I moved the stuff in the HTML out, but I did not have time to move the CSS out. So I apologize for all of you separatists out there. I don't even know if that's what you call it. HTML and CSS separators. I did not separate that just yet. But if we go down, you'll see that we have our Kendo grid. We have a Kendo grid binding to grid view, and we have a height set of 500. If we just remove that height, why are you doing said things? Okay. If you remove said height, I believe it goes as, if I scroll, yeah, it's going to go as tall as it needs to be to have this many items, which isn't ideal. You want some sort of scroll, but we want it to be just a little bit taller than 500. And I really despise inline styles. So let's go ahead and set this height to 90 view height. And we're going to call out the class of KGrid. And as you can see, no important tags were used in the customizing of this grid height. It scrolls. It is 90 units of our view height. And it works. Like, it's perfect. It's beautiful. I love that. I know it's super silly and super simple, but it makes me really happy. Another thing that's often, hello, are we still there? Woo! I think I just lost my mouse. So hopefully my audio is still going. That was really weird. My mouse and keyboard just flashed on and off. I'm still here. Thanks, Carl. That was very strange. There's a ghost in my office. The next thing is page size. So let's go back over to our grid and let's go ahead and add a page size, and we'll specify 20. Save. And I want to go ahead and add some, what we're working towards is adding pageability. Is that a word? Okay. So I actually don't want to set it to a hard-coded. Let's set it to a variable. And inside of our TypeScript, we're going to go down and we're going to find our TypeScript. And we're going to be like, hi, TypeScript. It's good to see you. We're going to make, whoops, nope, that goes in our, we need one last binding of pageable. So our pager is actually, if we have time, I have a list view demo, but our pager works on many different components. We have the ability to do paging in our grid. We have the ability to do paging in our list view. And I mean, Carl can probably list out if there's any others that it's like automatically built into, but you want to set, it's really the same across the board. You want to set the, and I don't need page sizes if I'm doing it like that. Pageable, you want to bind to this object that has different options. And we need to go ahead and have some variables. The reason we're getting nan is because it doesn't know what a lot of these things are because we haven't created them yet. So we need save and go back over here and refresh. Sometimes I do bad things, and sometimes StackBlitz like doesn't update. So at this point, it looks like I did a bad thing. Okay. Let's see. Let's try. I'm looking at my time. I could debug it, but I'm just going to go and highlight some of the things that you can do. So let's see, info. Let's try to turn this to, yeah. I think let's turn on page sizes. See if that dropdown is working. So the page sizes dropdown is working. I don't know why my button count isn't working. If I did that wrong. Button count. That should be, I'm not quite sure. I don't want the info. So I'm going to remove save and refresh. Of course, I cannot get it working. Well, I think it might actually have something to do with my styles, because if we Oh no, I needed a default value for the items because now whenever we're at, like I went 10 items per page, it's showing you 1 through 10 of 100 items. And then the 3 button count that I set is actually showing up. So I'm sorry about the bug. I don't know. I did not, like, again, make a sacrifice to the demo gods. So no idea why. Or maybe it was just info. Do I not have info of true? Maybe let's just set this. Let's just get rid of it. A lot of times it defaults to just not being there. Items per page. So I think I need to figure out how to get a default items per page. But I am way over on time. So, I know what I'm doing. These belong to my other grid demo. I had set up some pre-code stuff so this would go faster, but this all belongs to my ponies. Oh, goodness gracious. Was not the most. Oh, there's a Q&A. Does it support server-side paging? From Vivi at 5:24. 1 minute to go. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry about that very special thing. I believe it does support that. I'm going to let Carl answer that in full while I pull up. We're at 5:25. I'm going to pull up. Let's see. Yeah, let's pull up the next demo. And Carl, if you didn't see it, it's in the Q&A instead of the chat. Which I always get. Not really on topic. Will we get a copy of the recorded workshop from Anonymous? Yes. They will notify you. I believe it's in a couple weeks of when the recording is edited and published. But yes, you will have access to it. And I want to cram as much as I can into that recording. So let me go ahead and go back to my VS Code. So I'm marking it as 5:26. So if you have not sent me a grid yet, now is the cutoff. And if you're like actively working on that, just shout out and let me know, and I can absolutely give some leeway there. But I'm about to show you how to make the simplest grid possible, which was the challenge. So if we go into my pony grid component that I created just for this, and we can, at this point in time, bring back our pony grid, and I made a simple grid. And a simple grid she is. So this belongs up here. I'm going to leave my comments just in case you check out the code I push up afterwards so you can follow along easier. But this is the simple grid, the simplest that I could make it. I guess we could get rid of the height, actually. We can go even further. Really, you just need the Kendo grid and the binding to the data. And you're like, really? That's all you need? I think I'm sharing. Let's do this. I'm going to share. We're going to share everything. Yes, that is all you need. So if we go back to localhost and bring that up, you have to actually run the server if you want to see something show up. But yes, sorry, it does support server-side paging, but I am going to let Carl answer that in more detail so I can hopefully get through a little bit more of a demo. Right now, we're waiting for this application to spin up. There we go. Compiled successfully. Okay. And there is our grid with our sexy powder blue theme that we added earlier. But it's super basic, right? Like you're scrolling through, like there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot of features. But and do let me know if you're not seeing what I think you're seeing. But it is the simplest way to just get something on the screen. Let's step it up a notch. And we're going to pull in, I think I called it grid columns. So the next question that I would have is, how do you customize the columns, right? And so you can actually specify a Kendo grid column and give it the data piece that it's going to be pulling out of. So if I go, this is local data. So if I actually go here and show you, you have, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you. You have ID, name, URL, sex, residence, occupation, kind, and images. And so these are the data pieces that the grid has access to. And I just put it in the same order. You might be like, what's the point of that? Well, now that you're actually specifying the columns, you can do even more things like give it a default width. And so if we save this and go back over here, and this is our second grid down here that you can compare with the first one. So the first one has like the same size columns. This one we've specified, we want a smaller name. We want a larger occupancy space, right? It's got a lot more customization to it. I'm going to make sure I have the chat up in case anybody is talking about the grid. Oh, Carl answered, I think the grid and all of our data-bound components don't really care where the data comes from, local or server-side. However, we do have a sample that showcases how you can do server-side paging. And he pasted the link in the chat. So check that out, Vivi, and anybody else who cares about such knowledge. I'm going to go back over to the codes and chug right along. So you can actually add things like literally, if I just go to our docs, the the docs that I keep mentioning. And I want us to have this and this. And if we go to our docs and you just start scrolling, you don't even have to navigate anywhere on the grid overview page, you'll see the options of editing, paging, sorting, filtering, grouping, export to PDF and Excel. I mean, the list goes on. It's a very, very powerful component, and there's no way we could cover all of it. But I am going to cover as much as I can. And so let's pull this up and we're going to throw on resizable true. And yes, it is as easy as that. We now can resize our columns. And things like this are awesome for when you have like, employee dashboard with grids and you want to go ahead and not only allow them to resize the columns, but you want to save that setting of like the size of their columns or the order of their columns or the grouping that they had selected. You want to save those settings and then plug them back in when the user signs in again. Things like that are really powerful and really awesome. So the next thing I wanted to show was modifying the grid content. So we use ng-template very often in our components in order to get something custom. So if we pull up this demo, I'm actually going to copy comment, excuse me, not copy. I'm going to comment out these two, but when I push up at the end of the evening, they will be there with the notes. So you can check them out in the Pony Grid component. So now we have, if we go back over to this, we've got a little bit more happening. I made the image. I put that one first. We've got our row striping happening here. It's getting there, right? She's getting there. So if we pull up this, I ended up customizing our first grid column with ng-template, and I'm putting in our pony headshots into an image. For the ponies, this data I literally got offline, and so it's just an array of images. So I'm just grabbing the first image that they had of that pony and displaying it there. But you can see here in this example how we're using ng-template to customize the content of grid column. So yes, let me double check my notes, and any questions, ask them in the Q&A or just plop them right in the chat. We don't really have a preference. We're all friends here. But I think I want to show some additional features. Yeah, let's do this. So I'm going to pull up my notes And I think we already answered that question. Yeah, we did. Okay. So over here on the right, I have some notes. So I'm going to just be using it to keep me on track. We only have 30 minutes left. We're probably not going to have time to take a break. But again, the recording will be available to you in a couple weeks whenever the editing is done. So let's go ahead and do some fun things to our grid, right? Let's give it a, let's see. Let's give it a page size, and let's see if we actually need to turn on the pageable items as well, I believe. So boop, boop. And let's go ahead and put in some variables. Ponies. Boop, 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 boop. Let's do this and do that. I think, yeah, we should get, I was going to say we should get, I love that powdered blue. That makes me happy, seeing our customized theme in there. So now we have a little bit better of, I'm going to put this over on 2 and put this over on 4. So now we should have a little bit better example of the paging. And sorry about that previous demo not working. I was getting a little scrambled with being rushed for time. Apparently, I made enough demos to last us for another 2 hours. So that's my bad. I totally misjudged time. So here we have in this grid demo, the proper paging where we are going to specify and give pageable this object. And inside of our TypeScript, we're setting things like button count to 3. Oh, so that's why I was messing up. So I think we need to set a default page size before the buttons appear. So let's change the button count to like 6. No, let's see. Did I plug everything in? Actually, let's change something. Let's actually list out the page sizes. There we go. And so now if we toggle through, we're seeing 6 buttons here for the page sizes. The info is actually, I know we're really cramped right now. And so the info is scrolling on top of itself. Usually I would assume a grid, like if you're viewing a grid of this weight, you're not on mobile, but we can do mobile, and we could actually modify our pager styles so that these stack on top of each other. Or you could just turn off info to be false on mobile so that you have like a little less going on down there. It's like less crowded. Oh, sorry. I don't have chat up. So bad. But yes, ask your questions. I'm going to move chat to the bottom so I can see if anybody tags me. Okay. So we also have the options with type to be numeric or input. If we change that to input, we should see the ability to type in like the page that we want to jump to instead of having the drop down. And then previous and next, we can also turn those off. False. Thank you, darlings. So that simplifies let's put this on the top. So that will simplify the paging options even further. Let's keep moving. Let's keep going. Let's keep grooving. Put this in 4 position. Let's put it over here and do this. Okay. The next thing is sortable. So let's go ahead and make things sortable, shall we? And now you'll see when I click on a column, it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to like make this really, really ugly. So forgive me. I'm like zooming in so much. When you click on a column, there is an arrow that appears with sortable, which this wasn't happening before. If we go make us normal size again, and you will see that we are going back and forth between Apple Bloom being on top or Zephyr being on top. or nothing, which it then is the default list of data. So sortable true. I think I made a note, that sortable, that right now in our application is only sorting by one thing at a time. So like we can click on residence or alias or name. But you can, and I think we have a demo that demonstrates how to sort by multiple columns at once. Groupable. Okay. Set groupable equal to true. Go back over to our grid. Now you'll see a new thing appear in the header. Drag a column header and drop it here to group by that column. So let's say we want to group by the sex, female or male. If I drag that column up here, you'll see that we now have, I didn't know, we apparently only have females in this data set. Sorry, I thought we had at least one male. That's funny to me. But you can group by multiple things, and it gives you these nice little drop downs. And so that can be super useful, especially when you talk about persisting that, so that your grid is this like how you left it when you come back. Reordering columns, of course, is simply toggled on by reorderable, which isn't the easiest thing to spell. Reorderable. So now if we go here, we should be able to drag, and of course we still have things like sortable and groupable active. Column resizing. So right now, if I hover, I think we covered this in the last one, because I have resizable true, but you can always disable that if you need to. I'm going to skip filtering so that we can get to the list view demo because we have T-20 minutes. But I'm actually going to save and push up everything that I have so far. No, I'll do it after list view. That way I don't take up any more time. But please ask your questions regarding the grid or any of our other components. And as always, if you think of something, just DM me or Carl on the Twitters. We are ready. I think we're ready to just jump straight in. I know that the grid is like by far our most popular component. However, it's not my most favorite component. So my most favorite, because that's proper grammar, would have to be the list view. And so so far we've been adding all of this, like these grids, to the dashboard, which already has to the dashboard. So let's go over to I've created here it is, a list view component. And these are the steps. No, we probably won't get through all of them, but I want to show you as many of them as I can. And this stuff is already on the words. This stuff is already on the GitHubs. I just need to push up the changes to the HTML. So the list view is a very new component that we have, but it's similar to the grid in a way. I love it so very much. So here's the simplest list view I could think of. I'm binding to ponies, which has a little bit more information than heroes if you study the data that I have. So I'm binding to ponies, and then we're using the Kendo list view item template with ng-template to loop through and pass let pony, the variable that we're creating right here. And we're just listing out the pony name. And so if we go back over to heroes, you'll see, because we were giving the dashboard a lot of love. So I'm plopping this into heroes. You will see the list view of just the heroes' names being listed out. It's pretty simple. Let me put this over here and make it a little bit bigger, just a little bit. Okay. So let's get fancy with it. Let's do a little bit more info. If you save this, let this refresh. Now we have a list view that has the index being listed out, as well as information of, is it the first, is it the last, or is it a middle item, which is just not first or last, right? So we're using our API here to go ahead and grab that information and print it out on screen. Header, footer. Let's do this. Whoops, not a head. Don't need that. Thank you, darling. Okay, header, this one. You can add a header or footer to your list views. And one sec. Let me look at this CSS. Host is my flex wrap. And this one. Yeah, I turned off view encapsulation, which means I don't get my host styles, which means my flex wrap isn't happening. So I'm going to turn that off right now. We might need to come back to it, but maybe not. Okay, so we've got our first simple one, our second fancier one, and this one with a header and a footer. And of course, the scrolling. It's still a lot of information, though. So adding the ability to page, which, as I mentioned, we have the ability to add paging to list views, which is just, it's beautiful, right? I didn't really talk too much about the header or footer. It's very similar to the list view item template, but it's Kendo list view header template and footer template. And then you just, inside of the ng template tag, add what you need to appear there. And I have customized, if we go over to the styles, which I did separate out, you're welcome. I have customized inside of the list view things like the header and the footer and title. And as you can see, it's very basic styles. Like there's no important tag this, there's no chain of classes and DOM elements in order to make your specificity higher. So keep going down. Pageable, right. So here we've set pageable to pager settings and page size to page size. Don't forget that default page size like I did earlier. Apparently it's important. I mean, obviously it makes sense, right? I don't know. Sometimes I don't know where my brain is. So here we have our pager settings object, and we are giving the pager settings bottom. We can change that to top if we wanted, and you'll see when the hot module replacement jumps in, it'll plop it in the top. And we've got our drop down header here to jump to different pages. And those page sizes are being limited to 5 right now. But of course, if we change that to 2, it will make that happen. So yeah, as you can see, beautiful, right? Previous and next I have as false. We can set that to true. And I actually like it better on the bottom. So I'm going to set that back. And we'll see that we've got a whole lot of data that just popped in. We can also control the button count just like we could with the grid and the info as well if that's displaying. And then, of course, you can change the type from a drop down to an input type if you care to do so. Okay, let's go back over here and Josh, go ahead and shout at me verbally if there's any questions. I don't have the chat up right now, but I do want to get through as much of this as possible. So search list, we're going to go do a simple search. So a list is great. A pageable list is even better. A list that you can search through. Now that's something I can get behind. So here we used Kendo text box, which is an input that we have that we've used inside of our Kendo list view header template. And we're binding to ponies as we were before, two-way binding now. And we are using the ng module change event to handle filter change, right? And if we actually go over to my TypeScript, right now, if we tried the filter, it wouldn't work because we aren't handling that filter change event. So inside of this, this one's pretty simple where we are normalizing the query to lowercase, and then we're doing a match if it's inside of, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because the wrapping is driving me batty. Not that big. Okay. So it's doing a match to whether it's in the item name or the item alias, because those are really the only two pieces of information I cared to search through. But now if we save this and go over here, we should be able to search for my favorite Pinkie Pie. You can see that's changing on all the list views because of the bindings, which we'd want to change. But really, who's going to have this many list views on top of each other? So anywho, that is how to add a search. And I'm going to take a breath. So were you going to say something, Josh? Sorry, I was talking.
Oh yes, there was a question posted. Well, I actually had the question. You and Carl has been able to answer a bit in the chat, which is
awesome. Okay, cool.
The question was very simply, you have the grid view and the list view. My question was, how different are they? I mean, I've used Kendo UI before, and I really like it. But I was just curious, like, what's the main?
Right. What's the differences? Okay, yeah, I definitely want to address this because people might be watching the recording and they might not have access to our chat to see the answer. And so Carl said, yes and no. While the grid does have the ability to define a custom template for a row or cell, everything is driven in different is driven by rows and columns. Meanwhile, in a list view, you can create a completely custom layout, including something like the layout of cards, which is actually what I'm going to get to. So I'm going to go ahead and just show that right now. I'm going to jump ahead because my next thing with a list view, because we can adorn the search, but I'm going to go ahead to customizing our list view. I think I called it custom list view. My main thing was, yeah, sure, I've got this list of items, but what if I want the list of ponies that I have down here? Because this list down here is one that I built from scratch. But what if I want it inside of the Kendo UI list view and I want to have paging and I want to have searching and I want to have all those features? So we can actually get these cards, like Carl was saying, inside of our list view. You might be curious as to why the styles are broken. And that's because, of course, I turned off view encapsulation. And so if I go back, I am going to find it. Encapsulation, view encapsulation, .none. It has to be capital. Save that. It goes over here. And we have to scroll. Here's our list view, and it has our cards here. And they're behaving as the cards are below, and they have the styles. I'm actually importing the heroes component SCSS here. And so, yeah, the list view is pretty powerful, and it's very different from the grid, but it has a lot of the same features like paging or searching. And yeah, so honestly, I think the list view is my all-time favorite component. I don't know how well that translates to others, but let me show you something else that you can do with badges, which makes me super happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go up here to our customized list view that's actually using hero data now instead of pony data. And I'm going to replace our image. I'm actually going to wrap our image in a Kendo badge container. And it has a lot of attributes. That's because these are here to remind me. They're not actually all needed. The last one is being applied. So you can see over here, we've got these little badges, and I'm using it to display the ID. But badges are really freaking cool because you can, notifications need badges. How many emails you have need badges. This could be, instead of ID, it could be any other piece of information. But you change it from, instead of small, we could say large. Instead of dark, we could say light. And we could take off all of these and make it a circle because there's all those shapes as options. So we save that, let that reload. You'll see large light circles now that are badges. And let's do that, clean up that. Oh yeah, the cutout border, you can turn that on and off. I love it. I will never forsake it. So yes, that is badges. We also have the ability to add loaders for whenever data is loading. So I thought it would be cool if the header changed to say loading more pony data and then it had this loader. So if we go here, you can see that I'm using the customizability of the list view with ng template to add an ng template up here if loader is true. Right now, loader is always true. So we can go back over here and set Yeah, loader's always true. So what we want to do, and I'm just going to copy paste this because we are super out of time. I modified get heroes. So instead of just subscribing to get heroes, I'm just going to comment that out, and then below it, show you how you can modify that. Boop, 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 boop. So that, oh, right. And we need to add a delay so that you can see the loader for longer. Don't let me forget that. Okay. So here we're modifying get heroes so that inside of the subscribe, we are listening for whenever we actually have a complete, and we turn that loader off. It's going to be pretty quick. Also, that's not the page we were on. Weird. Okay. So I'm actually going to go and comment out all of our other list views except for, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to comment this one out, and just so that we have less list views to stare at. I want that one, so I'm going to leave that one on screen. But we're going to comment that out, and these two. Maybe we'll leave the simple one. Okay, go over here. So we have our simple one. We have our complex one. I have a hanging comment somewhere, and we have our one with, all of the fanciness. Where is that? That's going to drive me nuts. There you are. I understand. I see what I did wrong. There you go. Are you happy? Does that satisfy you? Okay. So what were we doing? Loading. Oh, right. It's kind of hard to see because it's so quick. So we're going to go ahead and go into, I think, let me think about it. Which file do I need? I know, I think maybe our service. Oh, no. Yeah, the hero service. And I need to go up to get hero, and we're going to add a delay of I think 500 should be fine for us to see it. Go back over. No, maybe not. Oh, no, that should work. That totally should work. Unless, of course, I need to restart the server. Well, we are certainly out of time, but essentially, if I can go to the list view, and maybe it's because my comments are still not working. That's super strange. Anywho, we're going to let that load. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, I will have it working before I push up. But that was fun. It was fun. I'll reshare my screen as soon as it's done loading. But yeah, the list view has lots of power. The grid has lots of power. There's so many components. So thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you are.